relationships can be tough, right? Here you are, you used to have a bunch of hobbies that you love doing, play basketball, you went dancing, and now all of that's out the window because you don't feel like you can in your relationship. Or, maybe somebody just got up and left, and now you're trying to really figure out who the hell you are. And you feel like when they left the relationship, they took a big part of you with them. And if you're struggling with stuff like this, I'm glad you're here because we're going to talk about why having independence in relationships is super healthy. So stick around. YouTube family, what's going on, guys? David Medawar here. Always a pleasure chatting with you. And today we're going to get into the importance of healthy independence in relationships. And this is going to be something that maybe doesn't really seem intuitive because when we're with somebody that we care for or even love, we oftentimes will try and be who they want us to be, and we don't want to upset them, and we want to do things that they want to do. And sometimes we do this at the expense of ourselves because ultimately what happens is this, right? If we want to just be simply who the other person wants us to be, then we're not doing them a favor and we're not doing ourselves a favor. So when it comes to independence, I want you to think about when you met this person that you've been with or a past relationship. Chances are when you met that person, they were attracted to who you were when they met you, right? Because if they weren't, then more than likely you guys wouldn't be spending time together. You may have been meeting them at some basketball event or some concert, or you maybe were going out with your friends all the time and hanging out and you were being social. And these are all healthy and great things. Remember that those are the things that you used to do that drew this other person to be attracted to you for. And now what happens is that as we're dating this person, feelings are getting involved, we're getting attached. This is a relationship now that's not healthy because we are simply trying to depend on each other to the extent that we're losing our sense of self. Having some dependence in a relationship is healthy because we want to be by the other person's side. We want to be somebody that they can count on. Maybe there's illness. We want to be there for them. Maybe they want some emotional support for their career. And these are all great things because when we relate to another person in a relationship, this isn't about being rigid and being impermeable where we're not emotionally available for the other person. But on the flip side, if we just simply be who they want us to be, we're actually putting a lot of pressure on them, believe it or not. See, when it comes to codependence, on the surface, it seems like we have a good intent in our heart because we want to be there for the other person and we don't want to upset them. But unfortunately, what will happen is that if we just be who they want us to be, whether we realize it or not, on a more subconscious level, we are really turning the other person off. Because if we give off a sense to them that, hey, the only thing we have in our life is them and nothing else, that's not very attractive. That's not what got them being attracted to you when they first met you, right? So what does healthy independence look like? And how do we not take it too far where now we're on the flip side and we're too stubbornly independent, where we're just not doing anything to compromise in the relationship? So, well, that's not healthy too. But to find that balance, we got to really figure out, first of all, the dynamic of our relationship at hand. But more importantly, this requires figuring out what's important to us first. See, the thing is that we are all different people, and what may be important to you may not be the same as for your partner, and that's okay. But a big part of a relationship being successful is, A, we got to vet the other person to see if our values line up, our need for quality time lines up, if we mesh, if we have the similar hobbies, interests. Those are things to look at. But then also a big part of a relationship is compromise too, right? We're there to be there for each other and we're there to communicate, and that's extremely important. So for one relationship, seeing each other twice a week may be plenty. And then for other relationships, the need might be different. It might be something where you guys want to be with each other every day. And that's not bad either. You can be seeing the other person every day and still have a sense of independence. For example, say you're living together, right? Where now you are seeing somebody every day. Healthy independence might be something like, look, you might find that it's important for you to unwind every day, to step away and maybe journal, maybe listen to podcasts that are really important to you, or get your 20-minute walk in. Do those things. And another thing too is that we want to make sure the other person feels seen and heard, where when we communicate that we need a little bit of me time, how we communicate it is everything. Tell me what sounds better, right? Leave me the fuck alone. I just want to do my own damn thing. Quit being so needy. Or, hey, babe, I need some me time. I got to take a 20-minute walk just to recharge a little bit. I can't wait to see you when I get back. And I'll be here for you in a bit. Just going to go listen to a podcast. And you see how the second case communicates a need on your end. But then more importantly, it also shows and expresses that you are still thinking about the other person, that you care for them, that you're going to be there. And I recommend doing this kind of thing earlier in your relationship, because one thing that's good is to vet the other person and to say, hey, are they going to be good for me? Because if we try and communicate our needs for some level of independence after we're married, after we're living together, and this isn't a bridge that you've already crossed, and now you're crossing that bridge for the first time when you're knee deep in this years-long relationship, now you're potentially setting yourself up for failure, because what will happen is, since you're both emotionally invested already, financially, time together, and now you're trying to communicate some level of independence and you get pushback, it's a lot harder to move out, to divorce, to figure out that you're not meant to be when you're already that heavily invested, versus you're going on those first few dates, or it's early on the first few months of dating, and you're trying to communicate early on that, look, I've got some things in life that are important to me that may take me away a little bit from you, but just know that you're still so important in my life, right? Because also here's the other thing too, is that it doesn't mislead the other person. If you're communicating from the get-go that there are certain things that are important for you for maintaining independence, then you're not going to blindside somebody where all of a sudden you were just doing everything they wanted to do, and then a year or two later you suddenly express independence. Because then they're going to be like, look, when I signed up for this, you weren't doing these things. Now I feel like you're a different person. You're not who I thought you were. And now you're going to clash, right? And so healthy independence is a good way to ensure that we don't become codependent in an unhealthy way. Because here's the thing too. If you have a good idea of what's important to you, what makes you happy, and you enter the relationship as a happy and whole person, and now you're sharing that completeness with somebody else, you're always going to be in a much better place. It's very attractive. And if something goes sour in your relationship, now you're not losing your identity, right? You still have that sense of self. You're not having to restart your life over and figure things out. You're able to get back on your feet sooner. You're able to be like, hey, look, I can learn from this, but it's not the end of the world if we weren't the right fit, because there are already things I know I love doing. I'm going to go spend some time and take myself out on dates and maybe take a break from dating for a bit, versus you put your whole identity into the relationship, and now something out of your control happens where you didn't sign up for the breakup. They just up and left. And now you're like, who am I? Where do I begin? And you're just completely stuck. And so those are some things to think about. And if you want to know more about some of the stuff I talk about pertaining to relationships, my book on anxiety management is in the description below. It doesn't just talk about anxiety, but it also ties into attachment styles, relationships, and also be on a lookout for more videos. I'm publishing videos about 2-3 times a week, give or take right now. And if you want to know more about the content coming up ahead, feel free to click on that subscribe button. Always appreciated. See you guys around later.